We're gonna UVTV, motherfucker. I'm here to kick spiritual ass and do this for my people. On God. Neon nigga for Featherman, yeah. And today I'm gonna be talking about how prayer warrior tactics don't work. And then for me, extending onto that, I'm gonna start giving you the broader concept of how to look at prayer and blessings for the most part. And you can apply it in a way that's more efficient compared to the knowledge of wisdom that's put out here in like certain doctrines and stuff like that, certain religions and things of that nature. And then you could take your power back to overstand on something instead of you being caught up, the way I like to call it, getting caught up in other people's minds, other people's spirits that you following, and you actually can lead charge for your own way of how to look at these things, to make these like to, you know what I'm saying, like utilize these things as a tool to make it work for you and your benefit for the most part. Now, the reason why prayer warrior tactics don't be working and stuff like that, let's go to the root and the starting point, right? So a lot of these things, based upon a whole bunch of different religions, is already, especially when it comes to Abrahamic religion and monotheism, a lot of these things, right, was just other people observing other certain cultures and certain groups of people, and you know what I'm saying, based upon their culture and what they created for themselves and their spirituality system, aka them making a space for themselves for what helped them be productive and be into their own creativity and how they look at life and how they want to live life, is them documenting these things and them writing these things down and studying them, and then it's them taking a whole bunch of different people from different cultures. So you could look at that as Africans, you could look at that as like Native Americans and things of that nature. You could look at that like from a lot of different continents for the most part. I'm really not trying to make it about like colonization, even though it really is just that. But for the most part, from that starting point of those groups of people observing and interpreting from their perspective, because they don't know the original starting point. They're just trying to understand their perspective, especially when it came to different interpreters, all the way down to especially of certain cultures having like oral religion, things of that nature, right? They're trying to understand it from their own perspective, and then they'll twist and distort it based upon their understanding, and then it starts turning into people making cults. Then it started turning to people making different like isms out of it, like Mithraism and shit like that, and them taking a whole bunch of different types of spirituality, not understanding the original starting point of why it got created in the first place, and try to turn these things into different like entities or like deities or like things that they feel like they need to worship and like God and stuff like that for the most part, right? So to make it like super simple, right, this is why these prayer tactics don't work, and you actually making your spirit, aka your mind, aka your body, vulnerable to these different deities and these entities and these spirits out here. Look at spirits as like the masculine, feminine thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, right? And you're trying to internalize and personalize these things and making it seem like you're latching onto something that's broader than you, which from an overall perspective, this is really what we all doing. This is why we all have our own way of thinking, our own way of feeling, our individual way of how we go about something that's resonant and nourishment to our souls and things of that nature. And regardless of how other people look at it, that still makes people like happy. Like that's what the culture got built on in the first place. For anybody who want to create anything in existence, that's how it helped you make things possible for you in your existence. AKA like whatever dream or imagination or goddamn aspiration that you have for yourself or like goal, you know what I'm saying? It just add on to like what you want to create. The same way how we birth babies into existence and things of that nature, right? You would even be here without these type of qualities for the most part. AKA like your daddy had a horny thought and your mama had a horny thought, and then they came together, made a certain sensation, feeling an emotion, and then it resulted in them you know what I'm saying, planting and fermenting that seed. AKA you could look at it as like your daddy ejaculated into your mama, into a womb, into a shape and form, until you actually came into existence. AKA they turned nothing into something. Even if the shit was on accident, they still agreed mentally and spiritually with those terms and conditions, and we having sex, and then we chose to do something unprotected because we're horny, and we taking one thought and mix it in with another thought, and we gonna mix it together, have that sex mentally and spiritually. I mean spiritually and mentally, and so it becomes a physical type thing, and then it manifests and materializes into itself to where you come to existence. So all these things start from that starting point of existence. It's just sex in general. It's just taking two different energies to add it and to make it into a new energy. That's all that is for the most part, right? So I'm using it as an example to say when it comes to a lot of this prayer type of energy and stuff like that, right? A lot of these things is them interpreting other people's culture, other people's ways of going about spirituality, other people's agriculture, other people's ways of life, and them distorting it. So you look at them as God, or you start worshiping their deities, but the root cause of it is these things wouldn't even exist in general unless they didn't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it take them distorting the original meaning and them trying to bundle up a whole bunch of different ways of how people look at things so they can make like a psyop gentrified watered down version of what a whole bunch of different group of people doing. So you look at them as God and stuff like that. So you can just look at that as like a lot of Abrahamic religions, all the way down to Jesus and stuff like that. That's why the Bible and a lot of these holy books, especially Abrahamic religion, it be super allegorical and things of that nature. But all those allegories and the ways of life, all the way down to mysticism and spirituality, all that was taken from a whole bunch of different like cultures and like people and stuff like that. And then they try to take control of that in the physical. I'm really not trying to make this about colonizer, but like I had to keep on bringing up that point. Like it's really because of that. That's why we in the result we in now, for the most part. But from that being a starting point, that's why people have this certain mindset when it comes to prayer and like blessings and stuff like that, and why they attach to God in a certain way. But that's not really God. Y'all be looking, they be saying shit to make you look at God like a deity, and only a demon or a deity like being called God or like being deified. That's like a motherfucker who's like a narcissist, or a motherfucker who has like a inflated big ass ego, and they want you to praise them and to give you a power way so they can take care of everything. But they don't have no power if you don't keep on giving it away, if you don't keep giving it energy, if you don't keep paying attention to it. You get what I'm saying? So the same thing applies with this shit, right? So that's why there's so many programs and lights and illusions and logic and getting lost into the language or something, or words and things of that nature, to where a lot of people get diluted and they get confused and they attach to that based upon how, like, you know what I'm saying, like their upbringing was, and like how to look at these things for the most part. But it has nothing to do with the overall God, aka all possibilities, aka you creating something for yourself, aka you trying to be in that space of the birth, the birth of it, of existence, like the breath of life and shit like that, right? Because that's all your spirit is. So in general, we're all gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like all spirituality is just individuality. Okay, you believe in something that's greater than you, and we see things of that nature every day. And based upon we see things of that nature every day, we have the natural, organic way of how to do something for the most part. So the minute you get too lost into the physical shape and form, aka this physical body and this shape and form and this that nature, and then you try to get lost into other people's creations or how other people look at shit, and even if you did, unless it got something to do with all possibilities for the most part, or you creating and cultivating your own perspective of how to look at something, anything else is just counterproductive to actually help people be more enlightened, to help people, you know what I'm saying? Enlightenment just means being light in weight, not light in photons and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like this shit, it's like being light in weight. So from things being light in weight, it's not gonna weigh down on your spirit. It's not gonna weigh down on your mind and stuff like that. That's why a lot of people be having emotional weight and emotional baggage they be holding on to based upon their archons and archives and esoteric records and stuff like that, and past lifetimes and past memories, all the way down to this lifetime. And the more and more you keep condensing and holding that weight on you and try to take responsibility for these things and personalize it and internalize it, and you get lost into worldly things, aka the material world and the material realm and the third dimension and stuff like that, right? You only making things harder for yourself, mentally, or spiritually, mentally, and physically and stuff like that, all the way down to life situations and stuff like that. So that's why some people be going through certain shit, and some people get depressed by certain things, or people like personalize certain things in certain ways, and people have certain insecurities and things of that nature. So like this energy that I'm talking about right now, this adds on to anybody who be in that prayer warrior type of energy for the most part, right? And then look, it may sound harsh, but that's basically what you're doing, especially when it comes to a lot of Abrahamic religions and monotheism and Christianity and stuff like that. They want you to hit one of these, you look up to something, you know what I'm saying, and you get on your knees, and then you give your power away, and you don't even know what the fuck entity you talking to and stuff like that. Your intentions might be good, right? So your intentions might be good, and you might be a good spirit, aka you have well intentions. You know what I'm saying? You could be a good person, but you are around a whole bunch of bad spirits for the most part. You know what I'm saying? You putting yourself in a bad space. You could be a good soul with good intentions, but you putting yourself in a bad space when you do that, because you don't know what deities, what entities, or the things y'all be trying to look at as God, aka the deity, the deity in general. For the most part, you don't know what the fuck you talking to. You don't know what the fuck you trying to pray to and stuff like that. And the more they put you in that prayer warrior energy, it makes it so you be doing something in spirit, but you're not doing it in reality. So all you really doing is like, it's the epitome of never being fulfilled, and you constantly having to fulfill what you unfulfilled about. It's the epitome of you trying to like catch something, but it's always out of your grasp. It's always out of your reach. You feel like you always chasing some shit, but you feel like you never in control. You always feel like every time you try to utilize this as like a tool to help you actually fulfill your dreams and desires and aspirations and passions and motivation and desires and stuff like that, for some reason, it's always out of your reach. For some reason, everything always go wrong. For some reason, and things of that nature, right, it never go your way. Now, from an overall perspective, not everything is always going to go your way, but it's like you putting yourself in a perspective to where you could have probably got there way sooner based upon certain opportunities, but you wasn't able to get there as quick as you could have based upon you being your authentic self, because that thing keep holding you back. It's always your setbacks. So it start making you get into that perspective where it's like you start looking at things morality wise in a certain way. You start looking at things ethically in a certain way. You start looking at certain religions, aka real legions, aka a group of motherfuckers who think in a certain perspective for the most part. And if you wasn't around for those specific group of people who created it in the first place, you're never gonna come at it in the right perspective, right intentions to do it. So all you're gonna do is be a follower in spirit. You're gonna be like a sheep in spirit type shit. Like you always gonna be following the shepherd. You always gonna be following, you know what I'm saying, whoever created it in the first place. You like whoever came up with that idea, you always gonna be a follower, and they're always gonna take control of you because you gonna feel like this person is saying like some real shit. You know what I'm saying? But based upon real shit is relative and stuff like that. You're just getting lost into the illusion of imagination from one mind of how someone think. And if it's not really resonant with how you think, for the most part, right? Like the way how I be looking at it from like an overall perspective, right? It's like you always gonna put yourself in a perspective where someone's just gonna swoop in and save your life and stuff like that. For the most part, when in reality, nigga, you have to control that. Nigga, you chose to come back. Nigga, you chose to have the life you want to have and things of that nature. Nigga, you have your own mind. Nigga, you have your own perspective for the most part, and you need to be giving praise to that. Giving praise of, oh yeah, I want to be here. Giving praise to, oh, I have my own mind. I should cherish that. Oh, give praise. Oh, I have my own imagination. Oh, I came in a human vessel. Oh, I have so much dynamic authenticity and stuff like that. The more you give that power away, you just giving praise to a certain thought, different emotion, to that deity, that entity, and you wouldn't even know what that is if you didn't get taught that. Because like all this shit in general, you had to get taught that. You had to get taught that in some type of way growing up and stuff like that. So that's all the way down to what be going on in you know what I'm saying? Like it's based upon like your upbringing and things of that nature, right? So it's gonna kind of put you in like make you feel in an awkward situation and stuff like that, and make you look at things from like a broad point of view and stuff like that. That's like you coming up a certain way in a certain upbringing, and you do love your parents, you do love your family, you do love your cousins and your friends and your associates and all that type shit. You love like, you know what I'm saying, the way you got brought up. But consider you have your own mind. As you start to mature and grow up, you're not always gonna have that same mind. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be going through life, things be more in a spectrum, things be more broad. It's not black and white. It's not like, it is that simple, but a lot of people be making shit way more complicated. The same thing with this prayer shit. It's like that program and that light and illusion and that language and that indoctrination, because a lot of these things get taught to you, especially from schooling and books and you know what I'm saying, what people get praised to, all the way down to like what's get pushed in the media and like certain propaganda and stuff like that, and like observable events and how people look at good and bad and stuff like that. A lot of that shit be pure self-projection. So from that being self-projection, if you actually internalize that, you feel like, oh, okay, I can't do that because this is good or bad, or I'm gonna let somebody down based upon their expectation of me, of how I want to be. But it's like you just holding yourself back based upon that expectation. You get lost in a certain shape or form, but you're not even here to know about that. Like you're here to make a new body, make more shapes and forms. So like that's the epitome of like, oh yeah, you lived your life worth living and things of that nature, and you can die with a smile without regret and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like we all not gonna relatively think the same. So from that being that perspective, you're gonna start understanding. The more you try to get tapped in and know who you actually is for the most part, you're gonna start attracting your spiritual family or your soul family and stuff like that. AKA people who resonate with your individual space, the way how you like to create, the way how you like to emit things, the way you're like, you know what I'm saying, the root cause of how you like to express yourself. So you can get around motherfuckers who feel more like family, but they not a part of your blood family for the most part. That's why your spiritual family and your blood family is two different things. The people who came into the physical, who your physical family and your spiritual family can two different things. Now, some of these things can conflate for the most part, but it's at the end of the day, to make it like really simple, not everybody, you know what I'm saying? You got your own mind. You have your own individuality. So from you being here, you got your own brain in the world right now and stuff like that. That means you had to, all the way down to like previous lifetime, you kept doing that over and over and over in different cycles, kept on changing your mind, kept on looking at things a different way, kept on coming back and things of that nature. And is it going to turn into you kept getting lost into one shape or form of how to look at something, or you broaden it up? So that's why some people can come into different lifetimes and things of that nature, right? And have certain wills and abilities able to do and power control over certain things. So look at that as someone who like got certain talents, aka someone came to this in this existence and they naturally really talented at making music. They naturally really talented of, you know what I'm saying, being like very social and stuff like that. Someone is naturally very talented at goddamn being like a media personality or some shit like that. You can apply this to really anything, but like you get what I'm saying? Like you start figuring out yourself of how you look at shit for the most part. So like for the most part, I'm saying that to say that spiritually, that's the space you put yourself in when you go against that. That's the more and more you go against that and you put yourself in prayer warrior type of energy for the most part, you're gonna be something in spirit, but you're never gonna condense that into reality. You're not living your truth. So in general, and then look, the truth is relative and stuff like that. And a good ass lie, it ain't gonna be something without you having the truth in a little bit in without you having the truth a little bit in there. So from that being said, based upon, you know what I'm saying, like this, like everything can be an illusion, but everything could be an imagination too. Things can, and then you can get creativity out of that. So with that being said, you have to be true to yourself. Cliche as fuck, but the more you true to yourself, the more you're gonna find your people, find your natural talents, and then you end up accomplishing and doing things and finding different things about yourself and different shades about yourself that you probably never expected. You probably never thought you was able to have certain resilience or being able to will certain things into existence and manifest and materialize and do certain things. The more you start being to this energy, but the more you in that prayer warrior type energy, you always gonna be something in spirit, but you're never gonna be something in reality. And it's gonna be you giving your power away to some type of deity or entity for whoever made that up, and they gonna take that over for you and feed a whole bunch of you know what I'm saying, like thoughts and ideas to put that thing over yourself. So literally, so it's gonna take you away from you having your individual state of being, state of mind of how you could look at something, and it's just gonna make you cosplay to be more like that deity or entity or that thought and idea, that spirit, but it's never gonna be a thing to where, oh, you can beat up for yourself. And then if it gets so bad, you start feeling guilty if you don't do, like, if you keep on going against that. You feel like you letting people down, like you feel like people need to hold you to a certain expectation. You need to be looked at in a certain shape and form. Oh, I gotta be this role model. Oh, I came like this and stuff like that, and it's gonna go against so much because this, then the third. But in the back of your mind, in your spirit, you know you haven't been true to yourself. In the perspective of how you got that, you got taught that from someone that, like, you know what I'm saying, you got taught that by like some judgmental ass spirit, some ego narcissistic. So in general, yeah, you keep on doing prayer warriorship. So you're doing PRAY when really you need to be PREY, aka you need to be the spiritual prey, not like some weird Diddy shit, aka be like a predator or some shit like that, right? Not in that type way. I know some of y'all niggas be weird, y'all think weird, but like, yeah, you be, you know what I'm saying? Instead of being PRAY, you need to be PREY, aka you need to be the spiritual prey. You need to be a, like, you know what I'm saying, a spiritual predator. You need to pillage. You need to like attack those things, aka you have to utilize that for yourself, not in a narcissistic ego type way, but you know what I'm saying, you utilize this like as like, you know what I'm saying, you're able to use these entities, these thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotion, these spirits, these programs, these like things that's relative out here to keep giving power to your keep on giving power to yourself, so you can wield things and get more knowledge and look at things from a more broad perspective, so it can add more to your individual space, aka expanding and contracting. You broaden your mind and you contract the mind. You keep on pulsating. You keep on going through more experiences. You keep on going through more ups and downs and stuff like that. You keep on getting more perspective on how to go about something. And the more you gain perspective, you gain more knowledge. You gain more knowledge, you gain more wisdom. You have more ways to, you know what I'm saying, you have more in your, like, in that back pocket type of energy. You have more tools, you have more weapons, you have more things esoterically, spiritually you can use, all the way down to you having like a sharp tongue and shit like that, right? You have like a flaming sword, aka you're able to cut through the reality of how people will be looking at shit, and you can just get to the source, and you stop motherfucker from fucking taking advantage of you and taking you know what I'm saying, manipulative power over you and things of that nature. Like, yeah. So it takes you more away of not feeling like you blessed and stuff like that. And I know niggas gonna be looking at me crazy for even saying it like that and shit like that, like, oh, what's wrong with blessings and stuff like that. It's like the whole point is to expand and contract and stuff like that. Now there's an overall way of how you can look at blessings and stuff like that, because I get what y'all be saying, but it's like blessings is you being less, you being in a state of being less. Now we're in a lesser shape and form right now because we're in a spiritual body. I mean, not a spiritual body, we're in a physical body, right? But the lighter shape and form of that is your mind, your light body, and the even more lighter form is your spirit. So something that came before you did, for the most part, and you're just an observer of what you're doing right now. So your spirit, aka the space you in, is you observing what you're doing right now, and then you can attribute that when it condenses one time into your mind, and then when it condenses again into the physical body and shit like that. So it's something that got condensed so much to where it can actually move in the physical. It actually got condensed into the physical shape and form of reality and things of that nature, right? But everything that ever got created into existence, anything that ever became sentient, they all had to go through this process. So you have to sit there and think how long you had been doing that as a spirit, but to you to even be human right now. So it's like we was doing this for like a long period of time, like ancient shit and stuff like that, all the way down to how motherfuckers be looking at evolution and shit like that. That's a whole different fucking topic. So it's not even like on some monkey shit. That's like something that came after the fact. That means we was doing these type of things before even animals came into existence. It's just we take on animalistic characteristics, but we clearly don't act like animals. You know what I'm saying? Like we have a broader consciousness than they do when it comes to certain shit. AKA, we can make them as pets and stuff like that. We can train them to go accordingly to a certain way, not the other way around. And it don't even matter if it's a fucking big ass gorilla. And you know what I'm saying? Like physically, because of this, then the third, you can't do that. That's why we have fucking zoos and shit like that. Like we can't do that. So clearly, we have a higher, broader consciousness and intelligence than these things. But it's this same process that I'm talking about right now that we done did more than they did that shit. So for a motherfucker to manipulate you and to make you be in prayer warriorship and be looking at shit in a religious context, aka a real religion, aka, you know what I'm saying? Like they want you to think in a certain shape and form that can add to a certain state of being and culture that got created that you was never a part of for the most part, then that lets you know it's just some judgmental, manipulative ass spirits out here. And they try to take these vessels, aka they try to use other humans and things of that nature to keep that shit going because they got blown up so big and got, you know what I'm saying, like go on for like a long period of time, aka like a whole bunch of decades and centuries and things of that nature of people added on to that seed, to that mind state. So it's a lot of motherfuckers who just like governing and controlling and ruling over a whole bunch of other motherfuckers for the most part. Because they feel like they know everything. When in reality, we see that. You ain't gonna know everything. So anybody in that know-it-all preacher, teacher type of energy and stuff like that, they gotta know that. You not gonna know everything. But that's the beauty of life in general. You not gonna know everything. So from you knowing, you not gonna know, from you knowing that you're not gonna know everything, but you're also not being that state of being a lack of knowing either, stuff like that. You can look at things from an equalized perspective to where you don't get lost into either or, and then you can extract actual wisdom out of that. So yeah, ignorance is bliss, but at the same time, if you know some shit, you're gonna apply yourself better, which is gonna get applied to better wisdom and better ways how to go about something. That's way more productive. So it don't turn into, oh, we gotta kill a motherfucker. It don't turn into, oh, we gotta manipulate a motherfucker. It don't turn into, oh yeah, we gotta put a side on him. It don't turn into, oh yeah, we gotta program this motherfucker. Oh, since this motherfucker don't think the way I think, I gotta do this. No, motherfucker, y'all both men. You think one way, you can't force a motherfucker to think a certain way. The more you get into that more forceful type energy, that's when it starts turning into, oh, you just trying to be the god of the new world, like you like Yagami and Death Note or some shit. When it's like, you can't do that. You only have to use force. That's the only way you can do that. You have to use force. If you have to use force and motherfuckers ain't naturally gravitating towards you and stuff like that, that says way more about the type of state of being that you're in and you as a person than the other way around. So y'all need to stop putting yourself in the expectation of being impressed by motherfuckers who want you to be blessed and shit like that. They want you to be less. We supposed to be more. So from you being more, aka expansion, and you being less, aka contraction, that's a natural thing. That's a natural mechanism of life and just in general. Sometimes you're gonna be more. You're gonna be more broad. You're gonna take more on. You're gonna be more resilient than somebody else. And then sometimes you have to sit back and be less. You know what I'm saying? You gotta observe. You know what I'm saying? You gotta just let some shit play out. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to not say shit. You just see it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? You contract it into what you just expanded out of for the most part. So you're living in moderation. The more like you learn how to actually apply and know when to, oh, this situation, I need to say this and be more and take initiative and like stand up and be the leader, or like, you know what I'm saying? I got to say how I feel of my individual perspective in this little group so we can keep the train rolling up like whatever the fuck we trying to do and stuff like that. We all got to come and go. And then sometimes you just like, man, this nigga is better at me at doing this specific thing that I'm not able to do. So I'm just let this nigga do it because this, and the third. And I'm going to let them handle it. And I'm going to just, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be humble. You know what I'm saying? Like that terminology, that's basically where that shit come from. But you're really just trying to say, hey, I'm just living in moderation. You're just being modest. You ain't trying to do too much right now because this ain't the circumstance or situation to do that right now. Like, yeah. So the more you be in that P-R-E-Y, aka spiritual predator type energy instead of P-R-A-Y, right? You're going to put yourself in a praise type energy. And if you don't get too lost into the narcissism, the narcissism and the ego of shit, for the most part, you're going to be able to give praise to shit where it's due. AKA, that's like appreciation, AKA respect. And it's going to be something based upon your individual point of view of how you be looking shit. It's going to be something based upon that's relative to you. It's going to be something that's more in your benefit. It's going to be something that you want to create for yourself, for the most part. Instead of getting lost into other people's minds, other people's imaginations, and sucking niggas' dick esoterically. Because that's really all you're doing. The more you put yourself in this prayer warrior type of energy and stuff like that and giving your power away, and you never empower to actually be in control of nothing and stuff like that. Right? And then you're able to be more while also learning how to be less at the same time. I mean, not at the same time, but like expansion, contraction for the most part. And then you don't feel like you have to, oh, like I'm so blessed right now. Oh, I need to be humble. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so blessed to live the certain life I am because of God and this, that, and the third. When you don't look at God like the overall God, aka the overall great spirit, great creator, and things of that nature. You look at God like a deity, right? And if you don't give your power away to that thing, it's gonna fuck up your whole life. and shit like that. When you control that shit, you create that shit for the most part. So, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to live in moderation, spiritually, mentally, all the way down to physically, and then you put yourself in a better state of being and perspective, and you don't get too lost and washed out by some type of religious type of aspect of how they want you to look at the world and shit. But yeah.